Hi, it's Jordan1, and in this video I'm going to show you how to add the parts to my ghost body to make this adorable little Minnie Mouse. So she stands about 5 inches tall, and in my previous video you can find just the ghost body shell to make, and then I'm going to show you how to make all the other parts to complete your Minnie ghost. To make your Minnie, you're going to need several items. So I'm using embroidery floss to make her eyelashes. So you can either use that, you can use thread if you want to, you could use rubber bands. So it's all a matter of what you have. You'll need a hook of some sort, and I am going to be using the Rainbow Loom metal hook. You're going to need 2 pencils, and these are just old pencils that my kids had from school. So you can see I don't even have any erasers left on them. And the length is going to be about 4 inches, and then you will need to somehow color, unless you have a black pencil, the bottom section of the leg. So I actually used nail polish to paint mine, or you could use a marker or paint or whatever you have on hand. You're going to need a piece of cardboard, and I have mine cut in an oval shape. The approximate size is 2 inches by 1.5 inches. And then I used a hole punch to cut the holes to stick the pencils up through. And when you're cutting the cardboard, I would recommend going bigger than smaller and then just measuring it with your ghost, because you can always trim more off if you need to, but if you cut it too small, then you're going to have to start over. You're going to need eyes, and I think to get it to look most like the character, you should try and get some kind of oval beads or buttons. That's what I have here, and these are approximately, I would say, 10 to 12 millimeters. You're going to need a few clips or stitch markers, and as far as your band counts go, you're going to need about 117 black, 33 white, and 105 pink. To make the ears, we're going to begin with a magic ring of 6, so I have 7 black rubber bands. And I am going to be using a twist tie just to help me get the magic ring started, but that is optional. So if you do have that twist tie, just put it right next to your hook. You're going to take your first band and you're going to triple this. So it just goes on, twist, back on, twist, and back on. So then just pull your twist tie up, bend it in half, and that's just going to hold those 3 loops together and give you something to grab onto. So if you don't have that, you just want to use your fingers to pinch those 3 loops. And then one at a time, we're just going to pull through, back on, so you have 2 loops, one through the other. And then from front to back, you're going to pull through your second band, back on, so you have the 3 loops, one through the other 2. So we're just going to continue pulling them through. So here's my third, fourth, fifth, and then here's my last one. I'm going to remove my twist tie, and then I'm just going to spread these around, trying to get them evenly spaced around that circle. And then I want to take my clip and put it on the band that's on my hook. In row 2, you'll need 10 bands, and we're doing 2 increases and a single, and then 2 increases and a single. So I'm going to go through my first stitch. It's this little sideways V on the outside edge of your magic ring. From front to back, you're going to go under both loops. We have 1 band, and then back through that same stitch for your increase. In the second stitch, again, we have 2. So there's 1, 2, and then in the next stitch we have a single, And then we're going to repeat that pattern one more time. So the reason that I am following this pattern is because I want the ears to be sort of flat on the outside, front and back, but then I want them to be more caved in on the side, so that's where the singles are. That's going to be your sides. So in that last stitch where your clip is, you have just one. And then you're just going to move your clip. In row 3 we have 10 bands again, and this time we're doing just one single crochet into each stitch. So this part's pretty straightforward. We're just going to build the ear. We want it to just come down a little ways. There's only going to be 4 rows total in the ear. So here's my last one. And again, just move your clip. You need 8 bands for row 4, and this is our last row. And we are going to do 2 decreases. So you'll do 3 singles and a decrease, 3 singles and a decrease. So we're starting with our 3 singles. So there's 1, 2, and 3. And then the next 2 stitches are going to go together. So from the inside, like normal, you're going to push through that first stitch. Then you're going to pull back towards yourself, and you're going to again push out through the second stitch. So you should have 4 bands on your hook here. And I'm going to pull through both. Sometimes it's a little bit more tricky to get through that second set. And you want to pull these so they're about evenly spaced, that the band is through about the same amount on both sides, and then do your regular crochet. So then we have 3 more singles. So here's 1, 2, and 3. And then the last 2 stitches are going to go together. So same thing, go through 1, pull back, go through the second, and let me just move this clip so you can see it a little better. And I have the 4 loops plus the one at the base here, and I'm going to pull through both stitches and through. So I'll put the clip back on. And so that's just brought that ear in a little bit to give it that more rounded shape. So once you have one ear done, what you're going to do is make a second one. So I'm not going to film that, but I will add the time to go back to if you feel like you need to follow along with the steps once again. The next thing I want to do is put my anchor bands onto my ears so I can get them ready to attach to the ghost. So I have 3 black bands for each ear, and I'm just going to attach these to this opened end. So you can see where this loose band is, where it's coming up through. I'm going to go in that stitch from the right hand side, go under that stitch, pick up this loose band, so I can take that clip off, and then go straight across. I'll take my first anchor band, it's going to pull through everything, get the other end back on, and then one pulls through the other. Pull that relatively tight. I don't want to stretch it out too far, but I want it to stay together. And then I'm just going to that next stitch over. You go through that and straight across. Take my second band, pull through everything, back on, one through the other, and then one more time, come to the stitch that's closest to me, and I'm going to go straight across. Again, pull that relatively tight. And then I'm going to repeat that again. So I'm going through the stitch that this loose band is through, then through the loose band, and straight across. So that's one. Two. And three. Next we're going to actually attach the ears to the main body of the ghost, and I have two white bands that I'm going to use to tie the loose band of the ears off inside. So you're going to need to determine where you want the ears to be placed. First you'll have to see what you want the front or the back of your ghost to be. So I've determined I want this to be my front. And then what I'm going to do is take the bottom and just bend it up, maybe about halfway up, just so that I have a shorter distance here to be working with. And then you'll find your center point here where you have your magic ring, and you want to go to the left of that. Now there's an opening that's right next to it, which I think is a little bit close. So I'm actually going to go to this next opening here. So I will come up through, I'll take my first ear, take that first anchor band, and here's where I'm going to do something a little different. I'm not just going to pull the anchor band down through, because with just one band it's going to be too loose. So I need to go back through where I made that slip knot and actually get both of sides of that loop on. And then I'm going to pull that to the back. Make sure you have two loops. And then I'm going to see my next opening here to the left. I'm going to push up through that, grab that second anchor band, and again I want to get that other side of that loop to get back on. Pull through to the back. So now I have 4 loops, and the 2 end ones are going to pull through the other 2. And then I'll work my way to the next opening over, push up through, and again get both ends of that anchor band on, pull through to the back, and 2 go through the other 2. Now before I tie this off, I just want to see if I think that looks like a good spacing. And I do think it looks good. So now what I'm going to do is just go through 1 additional band on the back here, and take my last white here. I'm going to pull through everything and make a nice and tight slip knot, really tight, because we don't want that to come apart. So now I have my first ear attached, and I need to do my second one, so I want to try and space this around the same spot. So here's my center point. I'm not going to the one that's right next to it, I'm going to the one next to that, the opening. And again, I'm going to go through the loop and then also through the other end of that. Pull through to the back. And then I want to go to that next opening, push up through, see if I think that looks like it's in line. and I'll get my two ends of that anchor band, pull through, get those two to go through the other two, and then I'm going over one more spot, and again both loops of that anchor band. Might be a little tough to get through that second side. Pull through, and again let me just check the spacing, and I do think it looks like it's pulling to the back a little bit, so I'm going to change that. So I have to backtrack here a little bit, just undo that, get these two loops back on my hook, get this to come back out, and I'm actually going to go through this one that's closer to the front. So let's see. Yes, I think that definitely looks better. And now I just need to tie this off. Again, make sure your slip knot is super, super tight. Now I can undo this, and my ears are attached. The next thing that I'm going to do is to add my buttons. So you may be using beads or buttons or bands, and these are about 10 to 12 millimeters, I would say. And I did already string the rubber band through. I used a needle and thread, but you might also use a metal part from the twisty tie, and I do have videos that show you how to do each if you're not quite sure how to do that. And then I have 3 white rubber bands that I'm going to use to tie these other bands to hold them in place in the back. So you need to determine where you want your eyes to be placed, and with Mickey and Minnie's eyes, they are very close together, so probably somewhere right around here I want them to be. So let me just stick my hook through. Now the way that my band runs through is actually vertical. Yours may be different depending on what you have. So let's see, this is where I want to come up through, and I'm going to pull down one side, and then I'm going to come up through the top here, grab the other side, pull it through to the back. So I have my 2 loops on here. I'm going to pull one through the other, and then I'm going to go through a space on the back. Let me just fold this open like I did for the other part for the ear. And I'm going to go a little bit farther away just to make it tighter. I'm not going to pick a band that's right next to it, just to give it a little bit more tension. And I'm going to pull through both. And I'm going to do that nice and tight slip knot. So let me see here. And then the other eye I'm going to want to be right next to it. So let me just come up through here. Again, pull through to the back. And then go up a little bit higher. Pull that through. And pull one through the other. And then again, I'm going to go a little bit farther away here. Again, nice and tight. So then here's my eyes. And you do have a little bit of wiggle room for adjustment if you want to sort of stretch them apart or push them closer together. And then for my nose, obviously I want it to go this way. So I'll come up through and then come across. And then again. Just going to anchor this on nice and tight. Next I'm going to add the mouth, and for that you're going to need about 8 black bands. It really depends on how big you want your mouth to be. And then I have 1 white band that I'm going to use to tie it off inside. So you'll need to determine where you want your mouth to go. So I think I'm going to start right around here. So I'm going to just come up through this opening, and I'll take a band and pull it through to the back. And then I'm going to come diagonally down and to the right to that next opening and grab the other end and pull that to the back. So then 1 band pulls through the other, and then I'm going to come out through that same opening that I just went down through. And again, I'm going to pull through to the back, and I want to come again diagonally down to the right. And I'll pull that through to the back. I have 3 loops, 1 through the other 2. And you can look as you're doing it whether you think it looks like it's going the way you want it to. So now I'm going to come up through, and this time I'm going to go straight across. Again, 1 through the other 2. Back up through that same opening, and now I'm going to work my way back up. So I'm pulling through to the back, but the next one, let's see, I want to come diagonally up and to the right. Pull that through, and it looks like I lost one here. That occasionally happens. I'm just going to get them right back on my hook and pull through. And then I need to go up 1 more. So up and to the right. And get it to go through both. And now what I need to do is just to finish this. If you wanted, you could just leave a smile just like that. But I'm going to come straight across here. So I'm actually going to come down to this stitch 1 down. And I'm going to come up through that one. Whoops, I got my white one on there. And I'm going to come straight across. And then once more. And let me just see if I like that. I think it's cute. So I just need to tie this off. So let me go through a loop on the back. And again, make my nice and tight slip knot. Now it just so happens that I have 2 loose loops, or they're not really loose, but my 2 tie-off bands. So just as an added measure, since they're right here, right next to each other, I think what I'm going to do is to just do a double knot just for some added security. And so now the little mouth is done. Next, I'm going to add Minnie's eyelashes. So I have 2 pieces of black embroidery floss, and they're about 8 inches in length. And I'm going to be using a needle, so I've threaded this through. And I want to see where I want the eyelashes to be. So I think I'm going to go on this opening right here. So I'll come up through with my needle. Just be careful that you aren't poking your needle through the bands or making a hole in them, because that will weaken them. So I'm going to come up through, and I'm going to leave enough of a tail on the inside just so it's not going to come all the way out. And then I'm going to come diagonally up and to the left. Let's see, I'm going to go a little bit farther than the closest one, so I'm going to actually go to that second opening. And I'll pull this down through. And then I'm going to come up through this same spot where I first started. It's a little bit of a guessing game here to come up in that right spot. And now this time I'm going to come to this next opening, the next one over. And it looks like it's getting close to the edge here of my needle. Let's pull that a little bit more. And also let me just tighten this one that's already in there. And I think I'm going to, let's see, I can either come into the middle here or I can go over to the left. I think I'm going to go over to the left because I don't want it to be too close to the other eyelashes. So again, coming up through that same hole, and I'm going to come over here to the left, go down through that one. So let me just flip this up a little bit and find where my 2 ends are. And then what I'm going to do is just tie these off. So I'm not going to pull it real tight because I don't want it to buckle, but I just want to make a sort of loose knot. Put it against, but not real tight. And then do that one more time. And then you can trim the edges if you want to. So we have one set of eyelashes done, and then I'm just going to repeat that for the other side. Next we're going to do the bow, and for that I have 40 pink bands, and I kind of have it laid out in the way we're going to do it. I'm just going to do it all in one segment. So first we're going to take a band and triple it. So this is going to be the center of our bow. So just twist and put it back on until you have your 3 loops. So now we're just going to work on 1/2. I'm going to pull 2 bands through. So you could use a twist tie to help you get started. I'm just going to use my plain fingers. And then going back in through that tripled band, pull through a second. And so now we have one little part started, and I'm going to turn this. So it's a little bit hard because you have such a small piece you're working with, but you want what's going to be the right side to be facing you. So I need to go in through the back side. So you can see here's where my hook is through this band. I'm going to go in through this stitch that the band is coming up through. I'm going to push in from the back, going through the 2 loops, and I'm going to pull through 3 bands, one at a time. So here's 1, back through from the back, same stitch, there's 2, and then once more. This is my 3rd. And then once again, I'm going to turn this or flip it. So now the wrong side is facing me, and I'm going to go in through these stitches. So now that we changed the side, we're still going in through that same side, but now it's facing us. So we're going from front to back, going through the one where my band is coming up through, pushing through both those loops, and we're going to do 3 sets of increases. So I have 2 in this first stitch. Whoops, I didn't quite make it through there. So there's 1, and then back through that same one for a second. And then moving over to the next stitch, we have 2. And now technically there's not really a 3rd stitch, but what we're going to do is go under this little V here. It's going to be really small and tight. We're sort of creating our own stitch here. And I have 2 that are going to go in there. So you can see that it's starting to fan out. And again, I'm going to flip this. So now once again, my hook needs to go in through from the back side. I have 6 bands and then 1 to tie it off. So from the back here, I'm just doing 1 in each. Again, they're all coming through from the back. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then once again, you don't really have a 6th stitch, but we're going to make one. So this little area on the side here, this little V, we're going to push through, and this is going to be my 6th stitch. So now you can see we have half of our bow done. So I just need to tie this off and hide this loose loop. So I'm just going to go under a stitch on the back here, just under 1 band, and I'm going to pull through everything. Whoops. I'm going to make that slip knot nice and tight, and then I just need to hide this. So we'll go under a bunch of these on the back. And pull through. Maybe just a couple more. So we have it halfway done. And I'm going to repeat this same thing on the opposite side. So I'm going to go in through from the back. Actually, let me just flip it. So I'm going in through from the front, but the wrong side is facing me. And I'm going to pull 2 through here. So there's 1. Back through for the 2nd. And then I'm flipping it. So now I'm going in this stitch, the one the band's coming up through, going in from the back side, and I have 3 I'm going to do in here. So there's 1, 2, 3, flipping it again. This time I'm going to do 2 in each. So the one that's coming up through, if it looks like your band is twisted at all, you can just go around and untwist it. This time I'm going from front to back. So there's 1 and 2. In the next stitch I have 2. And then if you remember from the other side, we kind of have to create that next stitch. So I'm pushing through this little V on the side, and you will feel that it's definitely tighter. So that's 1. And 2. Flip this around again. Now the correct side is facing you. You're going in through from the back. And we have our 6 singles, and then 1 band to tie it off. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we have to create that 6th stitch. So along the side here, this little tight. So that's number 6. And then finally flip to the back, go under a stitch on the back, or a loop I should say. Pull through everything, nice and tight, slip knot, and then just hide that. So you can do some adjusting with it to get it to be nice and curved. And then the last thing we're going to do is just to put that tie in the middle, just to cover that up and make it look like a real bow. So I'm taking 2 bands at once, and I'm going to wrap this around. So I'll just grab one side and then the other. Pull the 2 bands through the other 2. And then I have 1 more band. It's going to sit in the middle, and that's what's going to help to anchor it on the head. And you can adjust these to get them right in the middle. And then there is your bow. The next thing I'm going to do is to add the bow. So I do have a white band that I'm going to use to tie it off inside. So I need to see where I want the bow placed. And you want it to be a little bit above the eyelashes and pretty much spaced in the center. So I think I'm going to come up through this hole, and I'll take one side of the pink band and pull it down. And then I just want to go to that very next opening, get the other end, pull that through. And let me just, again, flip this so I have a little bit more room to work. I'm going to pull one side through the other, and then I'm going to tie this off. So let me just go underneath. I don't know if you can see in here. Just going under a loop, same as we've been doing this whole time. Pull through everything and make that slip knot. Next we're going to do the arms and hands. So for each one you're going to need 12 white and 6 black. So you're going to start with a white. We're going to quadruple this. So just twist and put it back on until you have 4 loops. the next band will get doubled. So just twist and back on once, and then you need to get this quadrupled band to slide onto the doubled band. It can be a little bit tricky. Get the other side back on, and that's going to be the thumb. You're going to leave that at the base of your hook. Now we're going to do the first finger. So quadruple, slide that onto a doubled band, and then we're going to do that one more time, another doubled band, since we want the fingers to be just a little bit longer. And this time you can grab the little nub here, the quadrupled band, and that helps you a little bit more to slide that on and back on. So that's our thumb and finger. We have to make 2 more fingers. So quadruple, and then slide onto a doubled. Just kind of even that out. And we have to put it on another doubled. Again, you can grab onto this little quadrupled band. Helps out a little bit. And then we have to do 1 more finger. So quadruple, double. Your hook is definitely going to get very full. Slide that onto a double. Even it all out. And now you should have 1 white left. We're going to double this. So just make sure you're pinching this, don't let go. And I'm going to slide all of these on. So if you pull up on this as you're taking it off, it's going to help it from getting hung up. At least we're going to try and get it not hung up. So that's all of them. It's very tight. Just don't let go. And then get the other end back on your hook, both loops. And then you can try and slide these over a little bit more and even them out. And now you should have 6 black bands left. We're just going to double each of those and then keep sliding this on. So here's 1. And again, just try and get it evenly spaced. It's always going to try and be on one side more than the other. There's 2. You can see I didn't have both loops there. Then here's 3. That's 4. Five, and then 1 more to double that. And that makes 6. So you want to just take this off very carefully. If you wanted to, you could put a clip on the end so it doesn't come apart, but it's pinched in there pretty tightly. It should be okay. Set that to the side, and then you're going to go back and make 1 more. So once again, I will add the time if you need to follow along with that. The next thing we're going to do is to add Minnie's arms. So basically you just need to see where you think they need to be positioned. You want them to be pretty evenly spaced between the top and the bottom and the back and the front. So I think maybe right about here. So I'll just poke my hook out. Let's see. I think maybe this one's a better option. And go through the 2 bands on one side. I know they are pretty tight. Pull through to the back and come up in the next hole. Get the other 2 bands to loop on. I think I only got one. Yes, I did. Pull those through to the back. Take my white band, pull through everything, and make that slip knot. And now I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So I want the one side to come through, grab both of those loops, and then come up through the next opening, grab the other 2 loops, and then just tie this off. To make Minnie's foot, we're going to start with a magic ring of 5. So you'll need 6 black bands. I'm going to be using my twist tie again just to get me started. So I'm tripling the first band. And then I have 5 to pull through. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and then my last one. So take my twist tie out, spread this around, and add that clip. In row 2, you'll need 5 black and 3 pink. We're going to do 3 increases and 2 singles. So it's going to start with an increase in pink. So since we are changing color, we are going to do a slip stitch. And all that is to go through the stitch and also through the band on your hook. So you have just your 2 pink, and one goes through the other. And then I'm going back through that same stitch for my increase. And now in this next stitch, we have another increase, and again we're switching colors. So I'm pulling through everything on my hook, and then back through that same one for my increase. And then I have one more increase in the next stitch. I have a single. And then in this last stitch, I have a single, but it's changing to pink. So again, I'm doing that slip stitch. In row 3, you need 12 bands. They're going to be all pink from now on. So we're going to start with 2 singles, 4 increases, and end on 2 singles. So I do need to point out here that we did do a slip stitch in the previous row, and that does sort of mess up the stitches, or at least it's a little bit confusing. So this first pink here that looks like a little half stitch isn't a true stitch. It's what I call a false stitch that's created from doing a slip stitch. So just ignore that. You're going into this next pink and we're doing a single. In the next pink we're doing a single. And now again, since we changed colors here, this little black half stitch that's sort of sticking straight up, we're ignoring that and going into the next black stitch. And here we're doing an increase. So that's the first of 4. So then we have our second increase. We have a third. And then one more. And now you have 2 singles left. So the first one is going under a black stitch. And then once again on that previous row we had changed colors. So ignore this little pink half stitch, and the actual stitch should be where your marker or your clip is. Row 4 is our last row. You're going to need 15 bands. We're doing 5 singles, 3 increases, and then 4 singles. So I'm going to my next one over here, and we're doing those 5 singles. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And now we're doing our 3 increases. So that's 1, 2, and 3, and then we're ending with 4 singles. So we're just coming along the side of the foot and we're ending towards the back. And then what we need to do is to just tie this band off. So I'm going to take an additional band and I'm going to go through just the inside loop here of the next stitch. I'm going to push through that, take this and pull through everything, make a tight slip knot, and then I just need to hide this. So let me flip this inside out. And I'll just go through some bands on the back here. And hide this loop. And then your very first foot is complete. So what you're going to do is make a second foot. I'm not going to film this, but I will add the time to go back to in the video if you feel like you need to follow along with the steps again. Once you have your 2 feet completed, you need to take your pencils, and I'm going to take the end with the eraser, or where it used to be an eraser, and go down through the magic ring. It's going to be a little bit tight. And push that on, and then I want the base of the foot to be even so that it will stand up. And then I'll do the same thing with the second one. And then I'm going to take my cardboard, and I've punched 2 holes in it. Try to get them pretty evenly spaced. I'm going to use the black side for the base, even though you're really not going to see it because it's going to be underneath of the ghost. I'm going to push my pencils up through. So it's going to stand up. Now she's basically done. All we need to do is to put her on her little legs. So if you wanted to, you could add stuffing up inside of here if you want this to be more solid, but it is not necessary. So you just want to place this inside here. Just make sure that that cardboard is pretty evenly spaced here, nice and flat. See your one leg sort of popping out here. Just stick them down in. And I know you can't really see her from that angle, so I will lay her back down. And I think she turns out really sweet. I hope that everyone loves their new mini ghosts. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook. You can post pictures to my Facebook page. And please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel so you can be the first notified when I have new tutorials available. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so please feel free to subscribe to those as well, and post pictures and comments there too. Thanks for watching!